another evidentiary issue that you mentioned was the glove, and the show kind of made it seem as if it was all on Chris to put this glove out. It was his decision. No one really wanted him to do it. He kind of took the initiative and did it on his own. Doing some of the fact checking, Marcia did say that was on him. I did not, like the glove was appropriate, particularly because I think it showed that Nicole purchased it at a store or whatnot, so they just kind of just intuitively knew it wasn't going to fit. And some of the experts came out and said, well, the latex glove he was wearing over it was also going to hinder it from fully fitting. And then some people argue, well, he still could have used it even though it didn't come down.
Right.
What did you think of just those behind the scenes look with the strategy for the glove?
Well, it was relying on the depiction in the show. It was kind of like Bob Shapiro just kind of wandered up to the witness stand, and the glove was there, and he tried it on, and he noticed the size, and he was like, "This won't fit OJ." And I think they'd had some discussions prior to that, but once they did that, they were like, "We got to figure out a way to get him to try it on because he's not going to testify. So how do we get him to try it on?" And then so they just essentially tried to bait the prosecution into getting OJ to try the glove on, and it worked. And when it was going on, it was just, I remember that from the trial itself as well as from TV. It was just like Marcia sitting there just mortified, just completely mortified, as was Chris, but he was standing there in the moment, and he was the one that was leading the testimony, so he couldn't.
You got to keep some type of composure.
Right, you do, because it was an awful, awful moment. It was unbelievable, the tension, and then the defense just played it up. They loved it, and OJ was clearly exaggerating. Like he couldn't get the glove on, but yeah, it was so. And in fact, I think in the show he apologized later. One of the later episodes, he apologized for the glove after something didn't go favorable for Marcia. I don't remember what it was, and he sort of acknowledged that the glove was his fault.
Well, and that was one thing Marcia did say, that he did in fact apologize, but she said that at no point did she admit any fault, so that part wasn't, at least according to her, accurate. One thing I'm not sure we talked about was bringing on Mark Furman. The show kind of made it seem as if they didn't want to, they being the prosecution, didn't want to do it, or at least Chris was telling them we should not put him on the stand, but Marcia didn't see that, listen, this could be a huge issue because he's had some, run-ins with Black people, and as well as his perception of them. So according to the fact checkers, that was never discussed. It was more of the question of who's going to bring him on, not we're not going to put him on the stand. But what did you think about the show's portrayal of that, and do you think it was a good decision?
I think, they made a big deal of it because it wasn't just one time when Chris Darden questioned whether they should put Mark Furman on the stand. He was strongly opposed to it in the show. But, he was a central witness, and he found some of that. He found the glove. So, it may have been difficult not to use him. So, maybe their biggest problem was they didn't manage the weaknesses of his character and his testimony properly. They should have just got out in front of that, and why he would testify that he never used the N-word just was the worst thing that could have happened for the prosecution. And I do know that Chris mock examined him before he took the stand. And even after he did that, he had even more doubts about it. But I don't know, maybe they just could have prepared him better for those questions. So he used, it's not a great thing, but he used the N-word. But face it, just deal with it. Like, yeah, I did. Probably everybody in this room has.
And then get us refocused on
get us refocused. But when you draw a line in the sand, I never use that word. And then there are your own tapes with your own voices with that word. That's incredibly
Which I
damaging.
really think, even if the tapes hadn't come out, at least from my perspective, I don't know if any black juror would have believed that he never used the word. I mean, granted, the tapes definitely, solidified all that, but to have, a white person take the stand and say, "Oh, I've never done it. I would never do something like that." Again, one, I mean, you need to focus on the issue, but two, you're ignoring the fact that race is such a huge issue.
It is, and
especially in the police department. Come on.
No, it is, and Johnny Cochran surely would have, whether the tapes had come out or not, he would have pounded them on that, like as he was not believable in saying that. So you're right. But boy, the time goes by so quickly when we do this.
I know. Well, and I'm enjoying it because, again, I think people should see, just what it takes to put on a case. It's not. I think a lot of people think, oh, if someone's guilty, then a lawyer should be able to show it. Well, it takes more. Some evidence can get in, some not. You have to ask a certain question certain ways, and so it's good that we kind of talk about the strategies as well as what's drama for the TV versus what's actually going on in the courtroom.
Right. So we'll have to do this again.
Yeah.